So today we're going to talk about making memories, storing what you want and forget the rest. So when you think about making memories with your robot, well, we need to have some rules. You want to keep it simple. You want to keep data separated. You want to use the tools that you have before looking for new tools. You want to back up often and condense. Memory making rules, keeping it simple. This means don't seek to make your design too complicated or trying to solve all your memory problems all at once, because a problem that you can create for yourself is trying to log a whole bunch of data all at once, trying to make your robot remember everything, and trying to just make it too complex. Keeping your data separate. This one can be tricky. You want to keep your data separated by the type of data that you're storing. This is going to take some time for you to learn what makes the most sense when it comes to breaking up the data that you're going to store with your robot. As an example of this, maybe you want to store memories that your robot is creating for chat conversations. Now, if your robot is chatting all of the time, you may need to think about breaking up that chat data, or all of your chat information might be just in one memory location or one memory file. Other types of memories might be different. Memories about who people are, information about what people like, information about what the robot has done, actions taken, preferences about different people it's interacted with, those kind of things. You might want to think about storing them in different files rather than creating like one giant memory location or memory depot or memory file for all of the robot's memories, for all of that information to be stored. Use the tools that you have before looking for new tools. When storing information, of course, most people always assume, and they always throw out the word databases. But EasyBuilder gives us the ability to read and write to files where we can store our robot's memories. Back up often. Of course, you should be familiar with this because I've recommended backing up often for your project files that you create. But it will take some time for you to perfect what you need to log and what you don't need to log with your robot's memories. You'll also be experimenting with your formatting of what you're storing in your memories, so it can be a good idea for you to back up those memory files often, so that way you can go back and look at them and experiment with them and see what worked, what didn't, and if you change your formatting and change what you're storing, you can go back and look at backups and compare and look and go back to old versions if you decide something that you changed is working better in an old version. Condense. This is about keeping what you need and condense what you can and toss out the rest. Ideally, your robot or memory management system will be doing this for you. Now, with regards to this, if your robot is creating a lot of memories, you're going to need some way to filter out and keep what you need and toss out the rest. I haven't talked about any kind of memory management system yet, but eventually that will be something that you or we need to design into our solution. So this is something that you will need to consider, but you may not need to consider it immediately. You don't necessarily have to design everything right away, but it's good to consider what you will eventually need, so that way you can be thinking about it. And consider it under these terms. Let's say that you're logging your chat conversations, what your robot's talking about, so that way you can have other programs that analyze what you're chatting about and learn from it. Okay, that could be a good case for your robot making memories. That's probably what a lot of people are interested in. So let's say you're logging that, you're logging it to a text file. And let's say your robot is chatting a lot and turned on all the time for chat. My robot is not, but if your robot is, it's possible that you're going to start to create a very large text file. And over a few days or a few weeks, that text file is going to get very big. So one of the first things that you might have in your memory management system is, once your memory file or text file gets to be of a certain size, of a certain megabyte size or gigabyte size, that you stop logging data to that file and then create a new file, or stop logging file to the one and change the name, and continue logging to starting over with a new blank file. Take it slow and steady. This is my unofficial official rule. Making memories for what you want in your robot's brain. Implementing memory functions one at a time. When you start to get excited about your robot creating memories and logging things and storing information, this goes back to not overcomplicating things, especially at first, but start thinking about what are some of the first things that you want to log, and maybe just start with one thing. Take it slow and steady. Implement memory functions with your robot one thing at a time, and see how it goes. Because like I mentioned, there will be some learning and some things about what you need to log and what you want to log, and how you want to manage your robot's memory functions. Because what I'm going to show you how I manage my robot's memories and what I'm logging may not be what you want to implement, because everyone's concerns will be different. Now, there'll be some overlap. All of us will have some overlap. We all care about some of the same things. We all want our robots to think. And with that, we all need our robots to have some memories. And we're all using Easy Builder. We're all using Easy Robot products, so that means there is some overlap. But how we specifically go about doing it and what we do exactly, we're all not going to do the exact same thing. There'll be some differences, which is okay. So don't feel like you must clone and do exactly what I do. And the most important thing to remember is keeping your data separated. One of the worst things that you could possibly do is to try to log all of your data or all of your robot's memories into just one ginormous brain file. That would be the absolute worst thing. So think about keeping that data separate. Here's a look at a traditional database. This is a look at a traditional database table. So if you're not familiar at all, if you've never had any exposure to databases, a traditional database houses tables. Okay? Tables are where the data is stored. So in a traditional database, you'd have multiple tables, and every table would contain different types of data. You might have a table for, let's say you've got a database, and we'll use a more traditional example of like an application that's holding some customer data, more of a business type application and a business type database. So in this example, you might have a table that houses customer information as far as the customer's names and addresses and phone numbers and contact information. And then you might have a table for products, and then you might have a table for sales information, then you might have a table for commissions, then you might have a table for different office locations. And then in a traditional database, like a SQL database, it would be called a relational database, because usually there would be a field where things can be indexed and interrelate to each other that way. Now that won't be what we're using, but I just wanted to show you what happens in a traditional database and how some of that data will be similar to what we will use and how it will be different. Now here's something that might be a lot more familiar to most of you. Here's an Excel spreadsheet. And here's an example of some data that we might end up logging from an Easy Robot project. Here's some column headers what I did, what I said, the time, and date. In this case, line 2 is an example of what the robot would have logged. It turned right, it said, I'm turning right, and the time of day, and then what day it was. And so, does this look like a data table? And in fact, it is kind of like a data table. It's very similar, but it's what you're more familiar with in Excel. You might not have thought about it as a data table or as a way to format your data, but it really is. Now this is an example of what's called flat files, or just text files, which is what we will be working with inside of EasyBuilder. It can be used for storing data just exactly the same way. And this is a snapshot of some data that I've stored from my robot Spock. In the first line here, we have check body connected state, comma, 0, comma, body connected, comma, date, comma, 9, comma, 27, comma, 2017, comma, time, comma, 17, comma, 35. All right. Then the next line, I ran int script on startup, comma, int, comma, date, comma, then the date, and then the time. Going down a little further, I said my birthday and age, comma, Spock's age, comma, date, comma, 9/28/2017, all separated by commas, time, comma, 16:40. So you're probably starting to see some similarities here on this data and how it's stored. And it's comma separated. That's in a text file, and if you're starting to catch on here, the reason why the data is separated by commas is so that way it can be broken down and used again, and it can be separated out. And if you're familiar with Excel, you might know that you can open a comma separated file like this, and it'll end up opening in 2 different columns. So then you can sort and arrange it if you needed to do that. So if you had a robot that needed to log any kind of analytics about customers or something like that, that's a very easy way that you can do this. But this is also a way that you can use it for your own benefit and make it fairly easy. So, and this isn't just raw data. This is Spock's own memories. These are all things that he did or things that he said. So hopefully showing you that you've seen that it's really not so bad with making memories in EasyBuilder. Now the flow of it is easy. What you say or what the robot decides to do will activate a script, and then action is taken, and the memory is made. The difference is what you say or what the robot decides to do is direct action taken, no memory or opportunity for the memory. The reason why I'm explaining that is because with your scripted speech routines, it's important for you to realize you're going to need to change the way that you interact with your robot a little bit in order to allow your robot to create memories. Because, as this example here, if I say Spock move forward, the command forward, there's no chance for this to create a memory. Spock just does this. He has no idea why. He doesn't create a memory, and if he doesn't create a memory, then there's no chance for anything else to happen afterwards. There's no chance for me to develop further, for anything to analyze that memory file. Whereas down here, I've integrated in the, if I say Spock show phrase list, this now points to a script. Spock play 80s playlist. This points to a script. This points to current routine name equals this. It's the current routine name. Well, why is it doing this? It's so that way current routine name can be changed, change the state, so that way an action can be taken by the routine that's monitoring what the current routine name is. Spock play 80s playlist, that directs it to run the, not just run the script or take the action and complete it here, because what I could do is put the entire script to just start my 80s playlist with the Windows Media Player. I could just put that directly in here. So I could say Spock play 80s playlist, and then bam, my media player would open. But I'm not doing that. I'm using the command control to open up the media and sound, which is actually a script manager. It just has the name changed, and then script start for the script that is named 80s playlist. So this is starting a script, and then inside of that script is controls that not only start my 80s playlist with my media player, but it also logs that event to a memory. And all of these are the same way. When I ask what's your birthday or how old are you, that kicks off a script. It kicks off the command control into his knowledge script manager. It starts a script for Spock's age, and it also, and then it performs the action for him to tell you how old he is, and it also creates that memory, so that way he knows what he did. That gets logged in his memory. So that's one of the biggest things that you're going to have to think about and consider changing. Is you won't be just doing things straightforward like this kind of interactions anymore, where you say Spock move forward and then you complete it all here. Even though I suppose technically you could put all of your code into here, because you in your speech editor you do have the multi-line scripting, so you could dump all of your code into here. I decided long ago not to do that because I like the flexibility of having a speech phrase that points to a script, and then having the flexibility within that script to make adjustments. So that is my recommendation to you, to stick to that method rather than putting all of your eggs in one basket and scripting everything within inside here. For myself, I think that that's harder to do, but that's, I guess that truly comes down to my preference. I think that would be harder and harder to manage, but you do at least have to acknowledge and consider this when it comes to the ability for your robot to make memories. So again, we'll go back to the flow. What you say and what the robot decides. Now the reason why I say or what your robot decides is because you might have some processes that are automated within your robot. You might have some random behaviors and so forth that decide, where your robot decides what it does. And from that, whatever happens there, that should also continue to kick off the process of what your robot does, which is a caveat that I wanted to point out to you. So what you say or what your robot decides to do. This is an important one. Remember this one. So the flow for activating memories is easy. What you say or what your robot decides to do activates your script, and then action is taken where memories can be made. And the difference is from probably what you've been doing, where what you say or what your robot decides to do, direct action is taken and no memories or no opportunity for memory is made. And then again, going back to this screen that you're already familiar with, where I said what you say or what your robot decides to do. Now, we've already covered what you say from this phrase list. Okay? So now let's think about this for a moment, about things your robot could decide to do. So let's take a look at some of my functions here. Like, let's say my live long and prosper. Okay? Or hello. Respond hello. This is where I say hello Spock, and he's programmed with the ability to say, you know, hello back. Or where I've programmed him to, if I say good evening, he has the ability to know what time of day it is and respond with either good morning or good evening, depending on what time of day it is. Okay? So that's something where I speak to him, and then he can take this action. Now, if I program everything about that function within here, if I put all of my code within the multi-line scripting of the speech command, but then I want the robot to partake in being able to say good morning to me all on his own based on what time of day it is. Like, let's say when I turn him on, when he initializes, I want him to be able to know what time of day it is and decide on his own to say good morning or good evening. Can he call up some kind of magic script in here and do this? Well, oops, no, he can't, because I didn't take all this code and put it into a separate script. Because it's all, if I did it that way, it would be all tied up in here. So this is the reason why I take all of my code and I build them into script managers, into individual scripts that I can either call up by my phrase list or call up by any other processes I want. I can call them up by other scripts or other processes I build up in my robot. So, coding memories, the basic formula. This is the basic formula that I use for all of my scripts. We have current routine name, then your code, which is going to be different for every single script, what I did, what I said, and current routine done name. And you're probably asking, well, why this formula? What does this have to do with anything? And this will make sense in a couple of frames. So here's the basic formula in action. So we have the current routine name, which equals 80s playlist, which is the name of my script. Say wait, I will play the 80s playlist for you, and then I'm going to execute, and I'm executing a shortcut to my 80s playlist, which is created for my Windows Media Player. So this is just the command to execute that in Easy Builder. This line here would execute. When it executes, it would open up the shortcut, and the media player would open and start playing my 80s playlist. Then what we're doing is we are setting a media log file variable, and we're setting it to a text file, and we're setting the location and the name of the location. And this one is, I've named it media and music log Spock.txt. So this file here is the name of my it's the name of one of my memory files for Spock, for anything that's related to his media and music memories. So I'm setting that, and then I have the file read close for that file. Then I'm going to write a line to that file, and I'm going to write the current routine name, which is 80s playlist, plus the media play date. So it would literally read out 80s playlist, comma, media play date, comma, and then the variable for the month, comma, day, comma, year, comma, play date time, comma, hour, comma, minute. And then the sleep 2000, creates a brief pause in order for it to complete this process. And then we set the variables for what I did equals I played the 80s playlist. What I said, I played the 80s playlist for you, or I will play the 80s playlist for you. And then current routine, done name, 80s playlist. Now this, in my robot's brain, the things I did and the things I said, it's one of the most important routines in my robot's brain. It's what really creates the primary memories of my robot. And it is a script that is always running. This is the code for it. We have current routine name equals things I did and said, and then the hashtag. If you're not familiar with Easy Builder, that means anything following it is just your comment nodes. So this will log things your robot did. Then we have a loop, the start of a loop, change monitor. Then we have a brief pause, sleep. We're going to go sleep, wait for change, current routine done name. So we're waiting for a change in this variable, which is why we're always using that current routine done, current routine done, current routine done. That's why I'm doing that in all those scripts. And then print, I just completed routine, current routine done name. So this is monitoring. This will print out to the window. I just completed the routine, and then whatever the routine is. Then we set a variable for the file name, and this is the location in the file. Things I did, -Spock, text file, read close for the file name, and then file write line, write a new file, what I did plus, comma, plus the current routine done name, plus the date, plus the month, plus the day, plus the year, plus the time, plus the hour, plus the minutes. And everything is comma separated. And then we have a sleep, so that way there's a little bit of time and a little bit of time, and then the loop cycles again with go to change monitor. Now, if for any reason this cycle breaks, we have what I did. I ended monitoring for things I did. Current routine done name equals things I did or said, things I did and said. Now, the reason why this monitoring script should never end, but ways that it can end, is I do have a function for telling the robot to go to sleep and to shut down. And in that process, it will stop this script and then log that it ended the monitoring for this. So there are some things like that you can think about building into your robot too. But this is my primary monitoring script, which functions a little differently. So between these two, between this one and the 80s playlist that I showed you, it's two different methods for logging data, and I hope that you caught on to that, because this one, in this example here, these are for some of the primary functions where I don't have to build in the logging into my other scripts. What this does is it waits for something to complete and then it logs it out. But this will log, any of the routines done. But in my 80s playlist, I've separated that one out, so that way what it logs specifically for just memories of events that relate to media and music. And that's why in every one of those scripts, I don't have an event monitor that's just going to monitor and watch for some different change for those music and events. I wrote the logging function for that in each script. And then making memories, here we can see the output of the things I did, Spock's file. Again, now you can see from that script, hopefully now it makes a little bit more sense.